live, I want to go over a quick overview of just some of my thoughts that are transpiring within this evening. Jason Whipple, welcome and thank you so much for tuning in, my friend. I hope you're blessed as well. We are truly all blessed. There is no doubt about that. I'm very blessed to have you in here as well. I really am. Um, I want to just go over tonight, not just with Jason, but whoever decides to show up this evening, and go over more of an outlook of two different scenarios. One, how can we avoid a further drop down? And what can Bitcoin do to avoid a destiny, if there was to be a drop down and, not hit that destiny of a drop to 64? What can we do to avoid that? And what would be a key outlier, in fact, if we do end up going down that path, so that we can see exactly when it starts going, down, or when it starts to break back out? Papa Wheelie, welcome, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 6 months with the XRP Predictor. Love it. Mark Haston, good evening, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. Ringneck, good evening. UK Phil, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. Oh, I love it. Thank you so much for that. Let's see. Just send it. Hola, my friend. Amanda O'Shea, good evening, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 3 months with the XRP Meteor. Thank you so much, everybody, for the continued support, especially in these weird times. Jorge, good evening, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 6 months with the XRP Predictor. And thanks for being a very trusted mod. Timothy, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for your 2nd month with the Dusty's Outhouse Crypto News. I miss doing this, so I'm going to do this. D. Roaz, welcome in. You're welcome, my friend. Thanks for tuning into another live. I did not know if I'd be able to do it, and I don't know if I have exactly an hour, but I know I can do at least another 45 minutes. So I said I'm going to take advantage of it. John Patak, welcome in, and thanks for being thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 2 years with the XRP 589 Moon badge. Jennifer, welcome in. I really appreciate you tuning in once again. Love it. It means so much to me, my female audience here. Such supportive members here. Thank you for being in Tom's Army for over 3 months now with the XRP Meteor. I'm gonna be talking about my expanded DGB plan in this live, Jennifer, because I've decided long and hard to not have a bag that's like 15 deep this time around. And aside from a few select ones that I own, it's gonna be a much deeper DGB bag than I even thought before. So, but I'll talk about the levels that I desire and things like that, and just the reason why. I just have a big aspiration there, and I'm not somebody who likes to have 100 different things if I believe in one thing, but I do believe in several different parts of this same sector. So there's some things going on in my mind. Wales, Josie Wales, welcome in, friend. And thank you for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year. I believe that said with the I Told You So badge. Crypto Cooter, welcome in. Thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 3 months with the XP Meteor. So blessed and very honored to have so many of you in Tom's Army. So it means a lot to me. So with XRP, there's an area that if we can get over, it would definitely allow us to not have a bigger drop. And then if we break down past this level, that would instigate a larger drop. So we're going to go over two part of these areas right now. We'll start out with how can we get out of here and, get to a bullish push, since now we're in a bearish bias and we're back testing like the resistance areas now that used to be support. And then what has to happen for us if we do in fact go down into a bearish state. So I like to show both sides. I have to be more straighter on the path because there's a lot of misconceptions that be developed if I start talking too many different talking points. So I'm just going to kind of stay in a more straight and narrow path. And we'll be able to stay on the same page a little bit easier because I've noticed a little separation and I'd rather have more togetherness. So trading with J-Ride, thank you so much for being in Tom's Army for over, over 3 years with the XRP Diamond Hands badge. Absolutely unbelievable. And thank you so much for the $10 donation as well, my friend. That means a lot to me. Good evening. 7:47 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Monday, April 7th, 2025. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan, or should I say XRP future millionaire with the side bet on XM and future Digibite OG, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. Hey, Ghost. Oh, okay, I'll grab your food. Hold on, everybody. I had to grab my water, but now I gotta get my cat food. Here we go. There you go. Good kitty. All right. Sorry about that. Killed two birds with one stone. Forgot my water. Man, was I thirsty. So right now, if we just look as a whole at the markets, just so we can see exactly what's going on, I think the best thing we could do is probably start with Bitcoin here. As it's up about 929 points. I believe it's at about 79,270 and some change. What is that? Up 990 points roughly. So it's at a pretty volatile day. At one point today, Bitcoin had tapped over 81,000. The 1 minute dropped off that much, huh? Because it was melting up, so to say. We'll see how this ends in the 1 minute. I mean, we need to get some volume back here. I would rather not start here in a very bearish tone, but it is the last 11 minutes of this candle. So we'll see. But we had got as high as about 81,165. Is that about right? I think that's right. Yeah, I think that's about as high as we got. Although we did have the push up Sunday, came down, back up. Yeah. So we've only come up about 70%. So if it ended like this would be not the bullish route if it fell through, obviously. For the more bullish route, excuse me, Bitcoin needs to come up. And now if we move this in real time as this is coming across, we want to come over that. Man, it's still a little ways up here, isn't it? It's not too far, but 84,467 would be where we want to get up here to at least break away from this pattern and this big descending consolidation. Otherwise, if we fall out of this, that's how we can, but we're not going to look at the bearish route yet. To get bullish, we're not going to want to fall below that 78,629, even if we're using it as support. That level has been there, and it's a pivot point. That's why it goes all the way across. I wanted you to see when I pulled that out farther. But that's more active as a pivot point. And if you're on the top side of it, you can still remain and start pushing up a little bit. When you get on the bottom side of it, it's never good. If you go farther in the pattern. So let me put this in like the, I don't want to go too far out because I still want to be, there we go. No, because it's still, let's see. That's fine. So if we want to break out of this, we've been in here, resistance, resistance, resistance. Formed a level of support, support, support. So we've done it 3 times on support, resistance, resistance, but it's different levels. So I kind of tied it in here. Big resistance area. Now you'd have to come back over this area and break out to invalidate this movement. But there is a descending, consolidation. The problem is here is it's happening on what could be perceived on this M-topping reversal Batman top. And this is like the right shoulder. And now this very well could have been the right arm forming. And then if it is, the hand drops and then it just kind of comes down here. So we need to get over, the bottom line is we need to break over that very big downtrending resistance that has happened since the top. First one happened roughly in the end of January. Another one, what do we have? A couple hits at the end of, mid to late January, end of January. And then we had another one over here, then mid to late February. And it just couldn't break over, did it again here. So you'd have to invalidate this entire structure. So that's something we have to watch for. And like I said, if Bitcoin is going to break out of here, which would be nice to see from here, we have to invalidate this entire move. And we haven't done that quite yet. Right now, all we've done is back tested some of these areas. So it's an interesting spot for sure, because it's showing so much of that topping reversal. And some would say, well, Tom, can it stop when it resets? Yes, and I agree. I agree we could reset, right? The problem is resetting this pattern is actually down in this cluster, down here. And that's where this topping reversal would start. So Otherwise, we're kind of taking the stairs down. And it's almost like I don't want to even draw this out because some people think like I'm giving up or whatever. I'm like a hater all of a sudden. I've not talked any different in 4 years. It's just when it's bullish, everybody loves me. And when it's a little bearish, everybody seems to not know how to read me. So the doom, the doom, the doom. And then now it's like kind of building the stairs down. And if it does, I'll be happy right there. Like I was disappointed only because XRP came down to like $1.62 and did not take out that FVG at $1.50. It's so disappointing. It is disappointing. Like I would have rather just seen Bitcoin do a big V shape from 64 because this is just as important as XRP's $1.50. This cup and handle, that back test would be just as important, and it hasn't hit it yet. So that's why I put such a big stock in that area. Love the big areas like that. There's no doubt about it. So I'm looking at the chart and saying, what can this do if it breaks bullish? And what's the opportunity if it breaks bearish? And if it breaks bearish, it looks like it would want to reset at 64, back test the cup and handle. And I do think that would be a big area of opportunity. And I think we're just a little early because the death crosses have been happening. And we need to let this shake out a little bit. We just need to let this kind of shake out a little bit. And that's just how it feels. But if it breaks out now, I'd be more than happy. I wouldn't mind it. You know, like this is not an area I would mind. What's going on here? He did? Oh wow. Made mama happy. So that's one of the ways to look at Bitcoin for sure. You know, we would have to look at it like that. And the indicators are saying death cross, and the indicators with this death cross would lead us down to about 64K. It's just we couldn't validate it, but I'm still, you know, I've got to see it to believe it. I really would like to see a reversal here. So I just want everybody to see, like, what could happen. And then instead of dropping to 64K, remember, if we could break out of this, for every non-action, there's an opposite reaction. So then if we look at it, we've got a very steady spot here where we could make a steady case. Or hey, let's just say it breaks out of here. Well, then we could start finding ourselves, you know, back up somewhere around 96,794. Well, maybe if we come, you know, because it would take a second probably to bounce out. But yeah, I like it like that. Let's say over time it breaks out by mid-April. We find our way in about 10 days back on the right side of town. You know, that would put us up to almost 97 if we broke up. So that's basically what you're looking at. If you break up, you come back up into this zone. Not necessarily so bad because we could pull a nice reversal. If you break down, it's still not the end of the world. It's just it opens up another obstacle, but we could at least clear that non-tracement. Even though we did come back and back test around 67, we never had a big breakout. You know, it was just that push up initially, back test, very small back test, and it broke through. This would be one of those more violent back tests, you know, that often can give more credibility to a continuation in a pattern. But, you know, it remains to be seen. It's a little disappointing that it looks like we're going to close below 80,000 with Bitcoin, but it's still a $733 rise right now. Oh, everybody who likes DGB, you're going to be getting a lot more DGB, a lot more in depth because, like, what burns me out is going from one token to the next, like 7,000 different ones, especially the ones that I don't normally talk about, you know, because it does take a lot of, remember, I'm doing basically the same thing every day, so I've got to have my mind trained in a certain way. So, like, when I get thrown off on different tokens or different tandems, then that's what burns me out. What I like to do doesn't burn me out. Like, I am very dedicated to DGB. I'm very dedicated to XRP. I'm very dedicated to a few of these tokens. Jan said, what did Jan say? I need to see, I need to go back and see the question. Oh no, it's not bad. It's not bad that you want $1.50. Even if you weren't buying more, it's a healthy retracement in this pattern. It's something that I've been wanting it to do since December, but doesn't mean it's going to. What was the question? How can all USD move up when it's a stable coin? Yeah, let's just put it this way. The worst thing a stable coin can do is move up or move down off the pegging of a one-to-one standpoint. That's the worst thing that can happen. That means that there's liquidity issues. You don't want it to come off the one-to-one pegging, even if that means it's up. Remember, a lot of the reasons why we make fun of USDT is because it'll be off par with USD and it'll just be overinflated. I don't want to see that. You know, you want to see a lot of consistency there. I definitely want to see consistency. Now, it shouldn't never be depegged from a dollar. It should always be one-to-one. You should never have any instance where it's separated from. If I put $10,000 in the stable coin, it shouldn't be I get 10,075 one day and 9,080 or 9,960 the other day. It needs to be I get 10,000 or within $1 or $2 each way. You know, it's a little bit separated. That's a little bit too much separation. Now with Bitcoin, what we talked about earlier is that we very well could have a nice inverse head and shoulders there on the weekly. And if this plays out, this is how we could get back technically up to like that 85, 86K area and start to play this up in a different fashion. I'm very far from giving up in this market. In fact, I've been studying it so deeply to try to find my next move. And it's getting spicy right now. It really is. I want the market, don't get me wrong, I want the market to come to 64 in Bitcoin, and I want it to come to $1.50 on XRP, more than anything. But I am also not naive. I see in the weekly how we very well could have these V-shaped recoveries that turn into these little inversions. So, and it's not just Bitcoin and XRP. You can see it pretty much across the board, how we bounced up and out. So, we'll see if this can continue up. There is a small chance here that we don't have, well, not a small chance, but there is a chance here that we can avoid the further downfall. It's just, like I said, we've turned the right arm now, not just the shoulder. And now we're just looking for validation to kind of continue the drop, so to say, if it wants to. But it doesn't mean it has to. Like, now that it's come down here and tapped the bottom of this support a third time, it doesn't necessarily have to. But this is what we drew out, and we're like, you know, maybe it is going to come way down there. Holy crap. Jason Whipple, thank you so much for joining Tom's Army. I love it. Holy crap. And I know it's your first month because it's the emoji badge of me being abducted by aliens. I certainly didn't expect for anybody to join Tom's Army this evening. Makes me feel good that I decided to come back on a second time and then somebody joined Tom's Army. That's crazy. Jason also said, where did I see that comment? Jason says, I'm no longer frustrated. Know that I am working with technical. Most everything is doing exactly what the charts say it should be doing. I will share some thoughts tonight to see your thoughts. Oh, that sounds good. That sounds good. Welcome to the club, my friend. Welcome to the club. Tom 1 we never look at, but I thought, or I bought some. Could we look at quant? I do look at quant from time to time. I have some charts done on quant. I just would have to pull them up. I don't know exactly the level it got to, but like this was a scenario where I thought we could get ultra bullish if XRP did this. Like this is, you know, something I thought, but look at how it's set up right here. Maybe it does it earlier, like W's here and pulls up. But I really thought if it did something like this, we could have an ultra bullish scenario, like left shoulder, creates it around, creates a big top, pushes over, and then this is how we could start creating, and this would just be a left shoulder. And that's kind of how it would have to play out for my scenario to play out. I mean, it could come to $1.62. I just didn't think it would do it just like that. I thought it would have to come back and tap. Like this is our first tap. Now it would have to swing around and maybe come down, and maybe it even comes to like $1.38. And then it swings out. I really think that's the way it would have to power through and get a lot of built-up momentum. You can see the volumes crashing as the price crashes, which is very bullish. It's just it's got to have that big moment. You know, there's certain points where it gets to be too far and people just pour in. I think for XRP, that's the area. That's the area. You know, Nick, I'm kind of having an opposite experience of you. Like you're saying, all the people that have no money that are telling you to sell. I've kind of got the opposite reaction of people that are, no matter what, they're buying, and they're so confident, which it gives me a little bit of confidence too to see that there's a large segment of people that I see that are just so confident that it's just going to go up, at some point here in the near future. Now, I don't know if I should be like jumping for joy or if I should be like, man, there's so many people that just, no matter what, but I think all ends are going to meet here soon, and I know it. Whether it's now or a little bit later, I know it because once we get the sign that we're going to get 4 or 5 rate cuts this year, risk assets start to fly. It might not be initially, but they do eventually start to take off in the short term setting. So I'm intrigued about that. Definitely intrigued about that. And now that we flipped the clock here at 8 o'clock, now we can start to work here a little bit. Now we can start to work and see what the dynamic of this week has to hold. This was kind of like the fairy tale candle because we dropped off so much over the weekend. I often say a lot of times they flip the clock and then you'll have the reversal of 5 to 10%, which wouldn't even justify the entire recovery, but it at least makes it look good for a 24-hour buying period. Now is where the real medicine happens. This is where the real fun starts. From this 8 o'clock candle until I would say Wednesdays, 8 o'clock close. So for the next 48 hours, this is your period. The market has to decide right now because we already know Thursday can always be a good day to lead into a Friday shit show, as it starts out good and then heads down. And then we've already know the last 16 weekends, and I don't need to regurgitate it, but I will. We've been bloody. Whether it was Saturday, Sunday, or Sunday into Monday morning, by the time the Monday candle closed at 8 p.m., which was still the Sunday candle, it's been blood. Only one weekend did it look like we were going to survive. But by the time that candle closed from Sunday into Monday night, it was super bloody. Even worse than the week before, even though we had like a 20% reversal up and it ended up being like a 35% drop during the day. Yeah, it was no fun. But we've had about 16 weeks in a row here where we have not had a good weekend. But we're still here. We're still here in some capacity. I may not be able to see the comments, but we're still here. Oh, there we go. Good. I was trying to read the last comment. I just couldn't see it. And then when I looked on my phone, it wouldn't show up. So I'm like, I'm at the mercy of somebody commenting. But yeah, I mean, quant. I like quant. I used to talk about how it was a little too expensive and I only had certain levels where my boat was at. And it's amazing. We came down pretty damn close to that support. I mean, I'm basically on it. That's what we're paying attention to. And then our early breakout could have got us there, but now it's taking longer. So let's just say it takes longer. But that's only if it can break out of this and not further consolidate. It's the sweet spot's right around $50-something as far as the pattern set up, and it's more of its longer scale. But I mean, something that I paid attention to for a long time. It's amazing that it came through all of those levels now. We'll see. We'll see, because there's two parts in my brain that are working right now. And in the crypto market, one says, hey, it's already dumped so much, eventually we're going to have to make it go up. The second part says if they're going to get rid of some of these garbage tokens or get rid of some of the overflowing retail, they would have to keep dropping it so that every drop, no matter where they buy, it would seemingly feel like no matter when you buy it, just goes down farther. And then once that bottom line happens where everybody's like, you know what, it's just not worth it anymore, then it's going to end up reversing. And I think we're close to that. I think we're close. But right now, I think everybody thinks we've hit that point. And I think it would be all but majestic for them to just pull it again one more time. And then everybody would really be pissed. Theta's very close. I mean, it came all the way down there. That's incredible. But now it's below, and now we're going to see if it reacts positively or negatively to that 76 cents. If it doesn't, we're gonna get the prices that I've been, I mean, only dreaming about for like 4 years. Because if I can buy 10,000 tokens and somehow it costs me $4,000 or less, I'm doing it with Theta. And then my whole plan changes because Theta is a very big one in the Internet of Things. And it's got a very strong reputation and it doesn't have a big circulating supply. So between this and Filecoin, which Filecoin's already at its all-time low, which is unbelievable, roughly. But I mean, if it really dropped down, I don't think it can get to 35 cents. But if it does, that means there's further implications in this market. Like you're talking about a token that was up at $235 a token, roughly. It's sitting at 10 times less than, well, no, 100 times less right now than it was trading at in 2021. That's crazy. That's legitimately 99% down. So when we say the market's like unstable, it's in a rather weird way. But we'll see how tomorrow goes. What's the futures doing in the stock market? Let's see, Dow futures. I suspect I can't see comments, which is a shame. But it's okay. I'm sure you guys are sick of talking to me after all these times, I know. Well, maybe not, but you know. Never quite can tell, can you? Check out Wickoff Method. I missed the sub $10 link. It happened when I was asleep. Ooh, I didn't even see that. Thanks, it's one of the only ones I saw. I didn't. Okay. You guys are talking that it's good. I just wanted to see what everybody was saying. I can't see your guys' comments, so I guess I'll be talking to myself today. We've been on for 27 minutes. Feels pretty good because we did 45 minutes earlier. I'm just glad I was able to come on. I'm not done yet by no means, but probably around 8:30, I would say, is probably when I'm going to end up getting close to my limit. So that would put us at about 50 minutes, I would say. Yeah, I would be happy with the 50-minute here again. So anyhow, the U.S. stock futures, let's see. I need to get here we go. So the Trump tariff update. Stock futures edge upward in aftermarket trading Monday following a day of market whiplash. Dow Industrials led aftermarket gains, rising 1%. Contracts tied to S&P 500. He fell asleep and he pooped. Look at that, Julie. Got your wish. All in like 10 minutes. Oh, do you want to? Do you want to wait?
I'll wait until I
Okay. What is this?
I spoke this morning with the Prime Minister of Japan, and we had a very good conversation.
Whoops.
Coming, and I said, one thing, you're going to have to open up your country because we sold no cars, like 0 cars in Japan, and they sold millions of cars into our country. They don't really take our agriculture, a little bit of it just to keep us slightly happy, but they don't take what they're supposed to be taking. So we have a great relationship with Japan. We're going to keep it that way, but they're coming in to meet, and other countries are coming in. With China, as you know, against my statement, they put a 34% tariff on above what their ridiculous tariffs were already. And I said, if that tariff isn't removed by tomorrow at 12 o'clock, we're putting a 50% tariff on above the tariffs that we put on. So they've gone for years. They've become a rich country because of people, again, that were in the White House that allowed this to happen. Hundreds of billions of dollars a year they'd make on us on trade, and it shouldn't be that way. And I have a great relationship with President Xi. I hope it's going to stay that way. I have great respect for China. But they can't do this. We're going to have one shot at this, and no other president's going to do this, what I'm doing. And I'll tell you what, It's an honor to do it because we have been just destroyed.
There have been some mixed messages from your administration. You're talking about negotiations, and yet others in your administration are saying that these tariffs are actually permanent. What is the action?
Well, it can both be true. There can be permanent tariffs, and there can also be negotiations because there are things that we need beyond tariffs. We need open borders. You know, we almost had a deal with China where we're going to open up China. It was almost done. Some of you remember it during my first term, and it was very disappointing. We ended up making a great deal. $50 billion worth of product was sold. $50 billion. You'd like that in Israel. And I made that deal, but it wasn't the deal that I wanted. It was the deal that I wanted was that plus they were going to open up China so that our companies could go into China and compete with other countries and China for for a large number of people. And at the very end, that deal was terminated, and we went to a piece of the deal. And so there are a lot of things outside of tariffs, but tariffs are very important. But there are a lot of things like opening up countries that were totally closed. China's essentially a closed country. In fact, it is a closed country. And what they do is they charge tariffs so that if you sell cars or if you sell anything, nobody's going to buy it because the price is out of control. But that's true with a lot of other countries also. So we're going to get fair deals and good deals with every country. And if we don't, we're going to have nothing to do with them. They're not going to be allowed to participate in the United States.
The EU has said that they have offered 0 for 0 tariffs on cars and industrial goods. Is that not enough?
Well, the EU, no, it's not. The EU has been very tough over the years. I always say it was formed to really do damage to the United States in trade. That's the reason it was formed. It was formed with all of the countries from Europe, I guess most of them, not all of them, but most of them. And they formed together to create a little bit of a monopoly situation, to create a unified force against the United States for trade. So they have NATO, which is largely the same countries, and they took advantage of us dollar-wise and militarily until I got there. You know, I was able to get $600 billion from NATO, where they paid NATO because most of these nations weren't even paying. We were paying for NATO, so we're paying them to guard them militarily, and they're screwing us on trade. So that's not a good combination.
I just figured we get to know what was going on there. With Digibyte, well, I've still got a chance, and like I said, I can't see anybody's comments, so I mean, maybe it's a blessing in disguise. I'm probably getting bashed for showing that by some. But 0093, the plan with Digibyte's simple: expand. If I get the chance to expand deeper, I will. It's not one to have any problem with. And so far, we bounced down. We'll see if this can still make this little V shape. How it's done it almost like an inversion. And we'll see if we can power out of here, because it does look like we've got a very tasty bullish Gartley formed here. And if we get hot here, I know some of you understand what this means in the 4-hour time frame. We got a golden cross. We back tested it. And, you know, I feel I like the way DGB's looking right here. Now, does that mean it's going to power out of here? Maybe not. Maybe not. But from the top, DGB had a head. If you went shoulder, shoulder, back down to the bottom. So DGB at least reset itself when it came back down. Now it's kind of been dicking it for a while, since the beginning of February. But DGB is one that came down and was kind of, I feel like it was ahead of the rest of the market on the drop in so many ways. And now it's consolidating very nicely. And instead of like being like, oh, you know, DGB, I'm just done with you. It's more like with this one, where can we start? You know, how can I get deeper? And it made me realize, like, I got to focus on less than 17 different tokens. And even if that means, like, some that I thought I was going to have, I don't think so. I think this time around, I think I'm pretty dedicated to this one. I have XRP and a few others, but, like, as far as, like, a real dedication goes and, like, a sticking point, you know, DGB is just something deeper to me. I know some of you know that. But I do believe in the master plan here when it comes to DGB. I just don't know if we're going to get that massive opportunity a little bit farther down to go even deeper, or if it's starting to show signs that, hey, you know what? Maybe it's time. Like, because it's come down. And I mean, this entire time, it's done exactly what you would want it to do. It's even working up just strategically over time. A little bit of higher lows, higher low, higher low. Doesn't seem to give it all the way back as it comes through. It's trying to fill this pattern out. And now we're going to see a very big destiny here. Because the 4 hourly, this is going to surge us up if it's meant to do it. I know there's a lot of fans out here of DGB. And, well, maybe not a lot of fans. That might be taking a little bit too deep. But I know there's a few of you that believe in DGB as much as I do. And no red day is too bad because there's always an opportunity to go deeper. And there's a few of them that I feel that way about, that you'd have to pry them out of my cold dead hands at the end of the day. But DGB is just one that it means something to me. So it means something because my gut tells me that that's the one. That's the one that's going to not only take you to the promised land, but that could take a lot of others with you. But I am not a financial advisor, nor do I pretend to be one, nor do I care to be one, nor do I want to hold anybody's hand along the way. But what I want to do is at least, share my love for DGB. And I know Jennifer loves DGB. She might even be talking about it right now, even though I can't see DGB. I can't see what you're saying about my baby. But, there's a lot of us that do believe in DGB in more ways than you could imagine. And, I'm actually really excited about, not having to take the journey myself, but take it amongst a lot of others. And I'm also excited because I can see a scenario here, because we bounced off 74K, where, man, if we could just get the right volume flow here, my dear Lord, could this be something? Yes, I understand we can reset at 64, but I don't always want to talk bearish about it. This whole live, I've been trying to be more bullish, more, hey, this is how we can break out. And I don't doubt we can. I really don't. Because if you look at this just setting in the weekly like this, I can see that inversion. I can see the possibility here. I really can. For what? Oh, you're fine. I didn't know you did anything to be sorry about, Julie. She was taking a shower. Let me see if I can look on my phone. What do you guys think about what I've been saying? Does it sound stupid? And obviously, this is just my ramblings. It's just my ramblings. Nobody else's. It sure is Pump Master Flash. I mean, I could see a scenario where DGB has just been, it's got a lot of things that are going on and it's very near future. And I could see a scenario right now where it is closer than most people think. It's getting there. And no, it's getting there. It definitely is. I want to see if it's now. I would love for it to give us one more chance for an even deeper bet. I just don't know if it will. Every time it goes up and consolidates back through like that, I mean, this is a big inverse head and shoulders right now. This is a massive head as well. As long as it doesn't give it back, and it hasn't yet. I mean, it's showing a destituted range. And is this not like a left shoulder, head, right? I mean, I know we came up to two tops, but that leaves a lot of room here. Even if you wanted to go farther back and say it's been working on this for a while. It's DGB, man. It's DGB. How many of you own Can I just ask an honest question? How many of you own DGB? And how many of you own DGB and it's more than 50% of your portfolio? 50% or more. Actually, no, it probably wouldn't be because XRP's run up so much. How many of you have invested more than 50% of your capital in DGB? Oh, we'll look at XRP healthcare. Tiny, a small amount, trial by Fury. I own DGB less than 50%, 10% from our Caston. Anthony Venegas says he owns them. Aaron has 2 million tokens. Excellent. I own it, but not 50%. Giddy up million plus. Ooh. 1.5 million, and I feel light. XDC and XRP are most of Nick's crypto. No, I understand that. My crypto portfolio is weighted more in XRP too, after, especially with the big run up it had. Yes, Zill, I fucking love Zill. I love Zill. Zill is part of the master plan. No, 300,000 is plenty of DGB. Remember, my plan was only to have 100,000. I didn't know I was going to topple the million mark. You know, I didn't know it was going to end up doing something like that. Believe me. I didn't. Shane says XRP, XRM, HY, my biggest bag. XP, XDC, Algo, Quant, DGB. Nice. Those are a nice bag. Nice bag. And I don't want everybody, see, and that's the other thing. I didn't want everybody to think I'm losing faith in the market. That's not it at all. I knew levels that had to be visited. And now that 74K has been visited, maybe this is our step out. You know? But DGB held up extremely well on that drop. Like, I commend it. I do. And it almost looks like it's getting ready to rotate here to the upside. But, you know, nothing would surprise me in this market, obviously. But even the daily, it's not so bad. 4 hourly, it's tight. You know, we're now, yeah, one could argue that, like, we're recrossed here. But we're actually testing like a golden cross attempt to break out here in the little bit higher time frames. What do you guys think? Does DGB break out? Yes or no? And then tomorrow when we revisit this, we'll be able to say, well, the audience said at this percentage that they thought it was going to break out, and then this actually happened. It is, Jason. It looks like it. It's coming up. One says yes. One says yes. One says no. Yes. I feel it's about to break out. So that's 3-1. Yes, it tried earlier, and then it had a early attempt last week as well. And it looks like it's trying to clear some space. It certainly does. And that's a nice Gartley reversal here if it can hold it. Nice reversal from here. This could be interpreted as an inverse head and shoulders pulled down slightly farther on the right shoulder. I guess maybe that makes it look stupid the way I drew it out, but you guys get the picture. I think everybody knows how I'm thinking. You know, so could we say that this is going to form maybe? Like, and then we formed a mini, like almost like a, could say like we almost did like a handle here. Well, that's not right. Like this, maybe. There's definitely could be some big momentum building here, and I'm all for it. Yeah, a lot of exchanges don't. The only reason I have crypto.com is for DGB, if I'm being honest. It's the sole reason I have it. But in the regard that it's, you know, it costs a few percent to buy and sell, it'll keep me from selling DGB, even if I was trying to swing it as much. I did it once. But, I mean, it net gaining me a little bit, but not as much as I would have hoped. It wasn't worth it. I just can really see some kind of movement could be playing out here. I really can. Maybe I'm just biased to DGB. I understand. You know, there's the other side of me that says, Tom, you know, you really do love that son of a bitch, don't you? And it might cloud your judgment from time to time, but I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I can't help it. I am all freaking for it. It's almost scary how much I love DGB. When it comes to what I think is going to transpire here. You know, in the years to come. Not just in the micro, but in the macro. But like I said, I would like to see this bounce out here. If this plays out in the fashion that I would be not expecting, but I would hope. I was expecting 74K at some point. Nobody says it has to go to 64. So maybe, just maybe, this is the reset side of this part of the pattern and it came down and we don't have to come all the way back to here. Since we did back test here, we just came down a little bit farther. It actually tested the next area. So maybe we can get out of here. Listen, I'm trying to talk our way out of here. And if we get a violent surge here, we could make some noise here. I'm just saying we could make, in fact, some noise. I would like to think we could make some noise. I would like to believe we're going to make some noise. And DGB is trying to make some noise. It really is. It's just stuck. We're stuck. I mean, even this is, look at that, looks like, and look at, that's an inversion. Oh, as long as it doesn't give it back, we're going to be happy. You know, it created this inversion. Now maybe it's starting to come out. Because we came up, created inversion, came down, created the head, coming around. Kind of looks like it's creating a shoulder here. Nice and level, a little bit farther down on this side. I'm going to go with the fact that DGB could break out here in the beginning part of this week. If it doesn't, it's going to be devastating for us. Not because it's over, just it's going to be devastating. We want to see it break out, that's all. I want to see it break out. I would love to see it break out. Like, in the short term, I would like to see DGB break out. It would just make me happy. And I think it would make a lot of people here happy as well. So, oh, did my live shut off? Mic is choppy. Oh, beautiful. See? They don't want me to talk about DGB.